but it was the worst moment of my career.
He steps, and right here it just buckles in on him.
That injury was the single most problematic and career-killing injury. Doing a hamstring, you need it to sprint.
Yeah.
They take away your speed. So I was only working off two hamstring for the rest of my career.
The Wonderkid, you were explosive, everybody was talking about you.
Yeah, well, word spreads, of course, and of course that naturally drew in scouts from all over the country, really.
1998 World Cup, England versus Argentina, the most talked about goal of that World Cup. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was just that moment. The vast majority of people would quit at that point. They're too big, too strong, they keep taking the ball off you, nothing's fair, but I never did. Yeah, I think being brought up in that environment really helped. I never ever thought I was going to leave. You'll regret it forever if you don't do that. If I don't do it now, I will never get the chance to do it again. So with a heavy heart, I've got to try. So I went to Chelsea, I went to Arsenal, I went to Manchester United, I went to Manchester City, I went to Sheffield Wednesday, I went to Everton, I went to everywhere. I just knew that Liverpool was you're taking away their livelihood in many ways. There's no niceness about professional football when it comes to trying to win games, trying to get in the team.
Welcome to the Champions Podcast, Michael Owen.
Thank you very much.
This is an absolute pleasure. We've got the Wonderkid on our show today, and it can't get bigger than this. If I'm a little nervous today, you must give me the extra leeway for it. But very excited to have this chat. The agenda of this podcast, as we call it, is to understand the true mindset of a champion, unlocking what makes them the true heroes that they are. And we want anybody that's watching this show or listening to this podcast to be able to drive and derive certain aspects from your journey and see how they can apply it to their own journeys. So very excited about this. I'd like to start with your early career, growing up days. Your father was a professional footballer as well. Can you tell us about your early days and how the love for football began?
Yeah, thank you for the welcome. It's great to be on. My life has always been about football. I was born into a footballing family. As you say, my dad was a professional footballer. I've got two older brothers. And despite them not being professional themselves, I do attribute a huge bit of credit, I guess, to my brothers, just for them being them. Because I think in life, especially when you're trying to achieve something, I always wanted to be as good as my brothers. One of them is 9 years older than me and one is 10 years older than me. And I think most people, when there's such an age gap, would probably give up. They're too good for you and maybe go and find your own friends. But I didn't. I always wanted to be around my dad. I always wanted to be playing football with my brothers. They would probably try to get rid of me all the time, but no, I wanted to play. And I always came back for more. Even if they beat me, I always came back for more. I just wanted to be as good as them for a long time. So that competitive environment, I was very fortunate, I think, to be born into. And then, of course, you need to have that attitude. The vast majority of people would quit at that point. They're too big, too strong. They keep taking the ball off you. Nothing's fair. But I never did. And I think being brought up in that environment really helped. And I played in my first team when I was 7 years of age. The youngest teams in that era were 10-year-olds. And my dad pleaded with the manager of our local team to let me play on the team. Of course, he was taking me to the park. I was going to all these little clubs, but he thought it'd be good for me to start playing real football. And the manager accepted, let me just sit on the bench for the first game or two. But of course, as soon as he brought me on once or twice, then he realised that he probably had to start me a bit more often.
Do you have a first memory of when you thought, this is it, I don't want to do anything else, and it became an obsession?
I've never known thinking anything other. I've never ever wanted to be anything else than a footballer. Lots of people go to bed with a teddy bear or whatever they do. The football was with me all the time, and if I didn't have a football, I would be using something else. It would be a tennis ball or anything, anything that moved across the ground, we would play with. So football was everything. When I used to go to school, I would be football under my arm. I would be, the whistle would go or the bell would go for break time, and I'd be out and I'd be organising the teams and I'd be putting the goals down. And as soon as the bell went for the end of school, I'd be keeping the ball up, walking home. I wouldn't even have chance to change out of my school uniform. That would have wasted 1 minute. I was knocking on everybody's door on the way to the park, our local park, and it didn't matter whether they were 15 years old or 6 years old. We would just have 20, 30 people every single night playing football, and I'd be organising it all.
You said most kids start off at 10. At 10, you were breaking records. You scored 97 goals in a season, and you broke a record which was like probably holding for like 20 years, and you still scored like 20 plus goals more than him. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the man in question is a certain Ian Rush, who was obviously, an absolute legend at Liverpool and a legend of a footballer. And I broke his record, which probably made me hit all the news in our country, or certainly in our county at the time. And I think that was possibly one of the early indications. We have county football in the UK, and this was an under-11 county team. And I got picked for it. I first went to the trials and I was 7 years old, and once the selection was complete, I was 8.
Yeah.
I was the youngest player ever to have got into the team. I beat Gary Speed, his record. And then in my third season, in my final year, when I was obviously as old as everybody else, that's when I smashed the record. I think Ian Rush had scored 72 goals 20 odd years prior to that. So yeah, I think it's possible to play and be good enough to play when you're that age, maybe in a school team, maybe in your local team, when you're 3 years younger than everybody. Yeah. But for your county, it was unheard of to be a 7, 8 year old playing in an under 11s team. So I think that's probably when everybody realised, certainly my father realised, that he was dealing with something that could go on to reach the top of the game.
Anyways, most of the things you did in the next decade were unheard of also as well, right? So you started, I'd love to understand, how you got picked for Liverpool and your entire journey at Liverpool. I feel like, for an entire generation like mine that picked up football in their teens, it was the exact generation when you had won the treble and won the Ballon d'Or, and you were kind of the Wonderkid. You were explosive. You had speed. You were, everybody was talking about you. Can you tell me a little bit about the earlier days to that, when you just got picked for Liverpool, and then we'll talk about your journey at Liverpool.
Yeah, well, word spreads, of course. If somebody's playing football down on the fields down there, and I had a look out the window, you could pretty much see some talented players straight away. They just spring off the pitch, really. And so word spread, and of course, I'm not playing for a local team, I'm playing for my county at the time, so that naturally drew in scouts from all over the country, really. So by the time I was breaking the record that we just spoke about, I had 6, 7, 8, 9 scouts every single game coming to watch.
Chelsea, Liverpool,
yeah, absolutely.
United.
And the one time, or the the reason I knew that there was a scout watching is because they would be the only people brave enough to go and stand by my dad. So my mum's job was to stand on the side of the pitch with all the other parents and to talk and to make conversation, but my dad wanted to concentrate.
Yeah.
And my dad would always stand on his own behind the goal that I was scoring. And he was fine. My dad was a very polite, nice guy. He would talk to people, but during the game, he needed to concentrate. He didn't want to talk to people. So I knew if there was anybody, sometimes there'd be one person or two people standing by my dad, I knew they must have been a scout because nobody else would be brave enough to go and talk to him. And yeah, we used to have scouts coming every single week. So by the time when I first finished at the county team and joined Liverpool, I was at Liverpool then from forever. But in all the school holidays, my dad wanted me to just go and explore, just go and have a look, just for your experience. I know you want to sign for Liverpool, but just go and have a look. So I went to Chelsea, I went to Arsenal, I went to Manchester United, I went to Manchester City, I went to Sheffield Wednesday, I went to Everton, I went to everywhere. And to be honest, when my dad, a school holiday came, he would go, right, you're going to Chelsea this week. I'm like, Dad, I just want to stay. I just want to sign for that. I felt comfortable there. I've been there for 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
We had a great little team. Me, Steven Gerrard. We had Jason Kumas. We had 3 or 4 players that went on to become pros. So we had a really strong team. We would be beating every team in the Premier League as it was at that age group every week. So it was fantastic. And I loved the coaches. It was close. It was only 35 minutes away. I just knew that Liverpool was the club for me, but my dad wanted me to go and have a look. And he was probably right. The other thing he probably did is created a big frenzy to get my autograph or to get my signature. But I left that to him to sort out. But he was under no illusions that Liverpool was always the team that I wanted to sign for.
Yeah. And you debuted when you were 17 and you scored a goal in the first game itself?
Yeah. I mean, you touched on my youth career. It was a very, very good youth career, and I think everybody knew, me included, that I was going to be a professional. But that's not enough, is it? Or I don't think it is. There's thousands of people that can be professionals. I mean, if you play one game, as a professional footballer, then I suppose, does that mean you can call yourself a professional footballer forevermore? I suppose it is, and it can. But that was never enough for me. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to play for England. I wanted to be a regular for Liverpool. But despite that belief and that ambition, you have to start somewhere. And going from youth team into the first team is a big step.
Yeah.
Playing against hard men that, this is their life, this is their livelihood. You're taking away their livelihood in many ways. There's no niceness about professional football when it comes to trying to win games, trying to get in the team. So I must admit, when I first got into the squad and the manager said, right, you're coming on, even though I had this whole bank of confidence and self-belief and understanding, I've been training with them, and they weren't, it wasn't like I was thinking, oh my word, this is way too good, I'm out of my league here. I felt really comfortable in the first team squad. So I knew I would be okay, but you can't help but just have that little bit of anxiousness, I guess. And then to come on and to score within 5 minutes of coming on, all that back knowledge, all that foundation of belief and training and all the hard work, everything just came straight to the surface. I felt like I'd been in the first team for years and years. I felt
like you belong here
straight away.
Yeah.
So that, having a good first impression, now it's quite interested in everyday life, really. I sometimes wonder if you hadn't scored in that first game, would you have gone off the pitch that night doubting that, this is one step too far? Would you, if it had taken 5, 10 games to score, what would have happened? I don't know. I'd be guessing. But I just wonder, when people succeed early in life at their first attempt, it almost gives you that confidence to take the next, and the next step doesn't seem so big anymore, and the next step and the next. So when I went into the England team and the World Cup at the end of that season, didn't feel like I'd never had a scar. Every challenge, goal.
Yeah.
Every game, goal. And it was always on the trajectory really. So it was important, I felt, to get off to a good start, and it meant that I felt part of the team straight away.
And you did incredible things in those 4, 5, 6 years that followed. You not only went on and scored 100 plus goals, fastest 100 goals for a youngster for the Premier League. You scored around 150 plus goals at Liverpool. You went and scored that amazing goal against Argentina in the 98 World Cup. You scored in 2000, 2002. So in 4 major tournaments back to back, you scored a goal in each one of them. You played with some of the best footballers. You won the Ballon d'Or. All of that at such a young age. Did it go to your head, or how did you keep yourself grounded?
Well, did it go to my head? If that is a sort of a negative thing, did I go to my head in terms of I got big-headed and my performance was affected? Then no. I mean, I would like to think that, at 17, arriving in the Premier League and winning the Golden Boot, if it went to your head, then you wouldn't be able to do it again. And 2 years later, win the Ballon d'Or and things like that. So no.
And you won 2 years back to back the Golden Boot as well.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I was just good and able at that time. So it didn't go to my head from a arrogance or a cockiness point of view. But of course, an element of it needs to go to your head. You can't. You've got to almost live 2 lives. You've almost got to live, what you think inside. And I can say it now. You can't really say it then because you look cocky and arrogant and whatever. And I had senior players. I had Robbie Fowler and Paul Ince and Steve McManaman around me. I couldn't say things or act in a certain way. Inside, I walked onto that pitch thinking I'm better than anybody.
Yeah.
Not even give me the ball. And that's how I felt. Off the pitch, I was petrified of buying a new car. I mean, if I drove in, I have an old car to start with. If I then, after 1 year, you win the Golden Boot and score a few goals and whatever, and then if I start driving in a Ferrari the next time, everybody would look at me and think, going big-headed. I was petrified of people thinking that. But inside, you have to believe something. Otherwise, if I keep suppressing my confidence and my self-belief, then you can't get onto the pitch and create the moments that you do. So the only way you can do that is to have something in your mind that tell it that you believe that,
So Michael, in fact, honestly, from our conversation so far, the key takeaways for me is that an obsession with whatever you really love can take you to great heights. You're talking about sleeping with the football and having the football with you at all points, and you just wanted to play football. So I think that's key for any profession, for anybody to truly exceed. A certain sense of obsession with what you do is
100%.
very, very crucial.
I don't know many people, whether they're successful in business, in sport, in any walk of life. I don't know many people that get to the very, very top without that obsession, without loving it.
Yeah.
And, it just helps. It really helps. You can't master your art without obsession. People always say to me, a young kid, give me a tip about, to be a professional footballer. I'm like, it's the hardest question for me to answer. Like, if I began to tell you what I went through and what I did and how, and out of choice, it's not because I was, my dad was saying you have to do this or else, but understanding everything about that ball, about the way it moves, about when it rolls, so it goes like that way. So you put your foot to control it, because it goes that way, if you put your foot flat, then it pops up, okay? So you close the angle 10%. When David Beckham crosses me a ball and it spins that, he hits it with his right foot, as you well know, spins that way, and he top spins it, so it top spins and side spins. When he does that, and I head the ball, I'm not aiming for the corner. I know that top spin, side spin kicks it to its left and kicks it high. So when I'm heading a ball for that corner, I'm missing the goal low and right. Or if I want that corner, I'm heading the ball probably about a yard to the right of the goalkeeper's right foot and probably low, and that'll kick it into the far corner. Now, that doesn't happen when David Beckham crosses me the ball. That happens when I'm 6 and I'm 7 and I'm 8 and I'm 9 and I hit the ball into the wall and it bounces back and it's bouncing back in a certain way and it hits my foot and kicks off that way. It's like, oh, right, okay. That ball was spinning that way, and when I touch it, it kicks that way. Right, I get, and you learn spin. You learn, you might go and watch a Premier League game, and you might see this beautiful grass, and it's dark, and it's shade, and it's squares, and it's the biggest nightmare in the world for a footballer. That's like putting on the only thing that grass is changing its colour, it's the grain of it. So that bit grows that way. So when somebody passes the ball to me, the ball comes like this at me.
Yeah.
It's like putting on if you play golf, it's like putting on with different So people, like, diet and rest and training and fit, knowing what there's so many million, and that's before we start talking about emotional behaviours and dedication and determination and sacrifice. I never had any friends, real friends, that I want to go out at night. I'm in bed at 9 o'clock, because if that means I've got a 1% chance of scoring another goal the next day, I'm doing it. What do I need to eat? What do I need to drink? How much? What's too much? What's too less? How much do I need to train? This is an obsession. This is an absolute obsession. You can't just say, oh yeah, go and practice your right foot, little boy, and you'll be a footballer if you keep doing that. You've got to live it. And
it's that obsession with discipline.
With everything.
Yeah.
Because lots of people can have an obsession. I could go down into the town there and meet 100 kids that, I'm obsessed about football. I love Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh, I watch every goal. I know all the players in the Premier League. They're obsessed about football. Of course, there's so many people with an obsession, but then you've got to have everything. Everything's got to marry. And it did. And of course, you've got to have that ability. You've got to be born lucky. You've got to be born with a body that's quite robust and that can move, it's balanced and coordinated. And, I often say to people, if I throw you a ball, the way you catch it, I'd probably say, well, you can't be a footballer. Just the way you caught it going like that. Or, do you know what I mean? The way, if you can play cricket, you can play football, you can play, rugby, you can play lots of sports. It's that hand-eye coordination, the balance, the timing of a catch, the timing of a throw, It's all the same. It's all connecting a football. It's kicking, it's catch. So you need a lot of luck to be born with that type of thing as well. But then after that, I can't even describe how many things that you need to.
And the second bit that I really liked in our conversation so far is, where you spoke about having two kind of personalities, right? One is where you need to be having a little bit of that aggression to feel supremely confident so that you can go out and perform. I think that self-belief is so important in anybody, whether it's a businessman like me, or it's a doctor, or it's an actor. You've got to have that innate self-belief to be able to kind of go out and perform while still keeping yourself pretty grounded and humbled and not being cocky and arrogant.
That's the balance. Yeah. Because people will say, well, what does it, you've got to have self-belief. That's a non-negotiable. You've got to have self-belief. You've got to have an arrogance. You can't perform. You can't fluke it.
Yeah.
You've got to believe it, and then if you believe it, it might happen. If you don't believe it, it's impossible to happen. So you've got to have the arrogance. You've got to have the confidence. But I agree with you. I think one of the key aspects and where people can be chewed up and spat out is that if you let that spill over, if you drive into work, into your, in a Ferrari after scoring one goal, you've got another 25 lads in that dressing room. They will literally chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
And without the help of other people, you might think you're Superman, but without the help of other people, teammates, family, coaches, you need everybody to like you, to want you to do well, to help you do well. And if you're arrogant, if you come across, I always used to have in my mind, so in Liverpool where I live, I have to go under the Mersey, the river.
Yeah.
And you can either go over the bridge or under the tunnel. Anyway, it was almost like, right, as soon as I go over and I'm into Liverpool, it's Michael Owen, the footballer. It's, you sign your autographs, you're at work, you're in work mode, it's football. It's when I used to come back, I'm now a friend, a son, a brother, all of these things, and you're actually a normal person again. If I come back expecting special treatment from my mum and my dad and all the rest of it, then you become a spoiled brat that nobody likes. You then things start going wrong because nobody's prepared to help you. And so I think understanding that isn't normal. When you go to the stadium and everybody wants your photograph, everybody wants your autograph, everybody sings your name, that's not normal. Going back home is the normal bit. Now I could live that life in the spotlight. I could shine in it. Actually, I could grow in it. Actually, I loved it in terms of it made me want to play better. But I could also switch it off, come home and try to be a normal person as well. Same friends, same family, same everything. And I think lots of people suffer with that, and they suffer most when they retire as well, because when people stop singing your name and stop asking you for a photo, then you start getting depressed and it starts hurting and whatever. But it's your own fault in the first place, making your bed in the wrong way.
Yeah, true. I want to go back to that 1998 World Cup, right? England versus Argentina, the most talked about goal of that World Cup. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you think that's the best goal you've scored?
Well, professionally, probably. I scored some goals like that when I was young and in the youth team and things. It was obviously a great goal, but it was also the occasion and the team that we were playing against and who I was playing for and the tournament it was and everything else. So it was just that moment, but it felt very normal for me. I've spoken a lot, obviously, been asked a lot about it. I went to that World Cup and probably nobody expected me to maybe go during the season. And then towards the end of the season, it's like, you must take Michael Owen. Even if you put him on the bench, and he might be able to make a difference. But I went there thinking, Shearer, Sheringham, they had the most incredible Euro 96. It was almost like they're the first two names on the team sheet. But I still believed, even though I was 18, that I should be playing instead of them. That's how I genuinely believe. Now, again, I would never say it in a million years.
Yeah, but you've got to believe.
I didn't go to the World Cup thinking, this will be a nice trip. I'll gain experience and all that. Gain experience. I want to win the World Cup for us. That was my attitude, not gain experience for the future. It's the here and now. And so I went onto the pitch not thinking, this is wonderful. Aren't I lucky to be here? It's like, no. You're born to be here. You're born now to be carrying the nation. You're born to be scoring. Everybody's looking at you to score the goals. That's how I felt. That's what I believed. And the goal itself is something that I just did. It wasn't like that was an out-of-body experience or something. Just felt, Beckham passed me the ball. I was thinking of taking a touch and bringing somebody into play because we were in our own half. And then I just saw an Argentinian shirt in the left of last minute I just changed and thought, he's too close, I'll be able to run past him. And I took the ball, obviously, with the outside of my foot, wriggled past him. And it was only then, when I lifted my head up and saw Ayala, the Argentinian defender, really, really deep, that I thought, goal. And of course, you're running at full pelt, and nobody can stop you at that point. You can make the finish a little bit easier. I could have gone tight to Ayala, tried to beat him tight, but he could have brought me down. He could have made a tackle. I can play really safe and go wide, take him out the game totally, but then I make my finish a 1 in 10. So the hardest part of the whole thing is having control at breakneck speed and making the right angle, that it doesn't diminish your angle and it doesn't take you too close to him, just the perfect angle, because also you want to be hitting the ball when the goalkeeper's at a certain point. So how big is that final touch? So it's not only the angle from the defender, but how big does it need to be for the goalkeeper to come out and create a certain angle. So these are millions of things that are changing every split second that you're always looking at. And so it was that final touch really that made the goal. And
I think it was one of the most incredible goals I've seen. I want to ask you next about, it was pretty much earlier on in your career when you were doing extremely well that you got the injury, right? From that injury at Leeds to going and winning the Ballon d'Or in just a couple of years. Tell me about that journey. What was your mindset like and how did you bounce back so strong, so quickly?
Well, I only bounced back because I was young. Like my body, if I'd had that injury 5 years later, my performances would have slipped quite considerably, and eventually they did slip. But it's like anything when you're young, you're a little bit bouncy and elasticated, and you can bounce back from problems like that. I mean, I may have come back and started scoring goals and won a Ballon d'Or and had some other successes, but it was the worst moment of my career. That injury was the single most problematic and career-killing injury or moment that I had. I mean, I did my knee in the World Cup. I was out for 1 year, but doing your cruciate knee ligament, of course you can have complications, but it doesn't really, if you have a good rehab and everything goes well, it doesn't really take anything away from your game. Doing a hamstring, it's a power generating muscle. You need it to sprint.
Yeah.
That is performance compromising. Broken bones, they heal, you can get better. They're pretty favourable actually. If I was going to have a big injury, I'd want a broken bone nowadays. But hamstrings, they scar you for life. They take away your speed. They, when your muscle works like this and you tear it and then it heals, it's like having a scab and then it scars on your hand. It's there. The skin doesn't move just normally. It's scarred. It doesn't. Well, when you have one rupture, so my hamstring, we have 3 hamstring muscles. When it ruptures, and there's no surgery back in those days, and it reattaches there and there. So I was only working off 2 hamstring for the rest of my career. And now I sit here with 2 in this leg that are attached and 3 in this one.
Yeah.
And one of my muscles is attached behind my leg here, and one is up in my backside somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it severely compromised my career after that.
Okay. So you faced some immense success at Liverpool, right? Earlier on, great fandom, etc. Just before we move on to Real Madrid, how was that entire phase at Liverpool? With the fans, with just you being the biggest thing in the country, in Liverpool, etc. What was going on in your mind? How were you feeling?
Well, I know no different really. It's very hard to. Of course, this was everything that I dreamt of and everything that I worked towards. But it was a real dream. It's not like I'm not a dreamer. You know. Listen, we can all have a dream. Go on the moon one day or something. But a realistic dream. This was something that was planned. Nothing else was ever going to happen in my mind. So it was just normal. It just felt normal. Of course, you're living now on the sharp end and there's pressure and whatever, but you don't feel it. This is what you do well and this is your job. And but looking back, they were the best days of my life. They were those Liverpool days when I was at my best, when I was scoring goals, when the team were playing well and the fans loved it and we're winning all those trophies that you mentioned. Looking back, they were the best days of my life.
And the reason I asked that is, and you gave the perfect answer, is you always believed it, right? It was no different in your mind than what the reality was. So you were actually manifesting everything that you were
Yeah.
now living, things that you always believed in, right? And that's
Yeah.
just, that mindset is so important for anybody to excel in life. So
I guess
thank you
so,
for
'cause
putting
I
it
don't-
up so
yeah,
clearly.
no, and I can sort of say it from how I felt, but obviously I know no different. So when somebody says, like, what did it feel like to score that
Yeah.
goal in the World Cup? It's like yeah, great, yeah. Like, what do you... that was my job. Like, there's other people around that are, like, exceptional. They're just... some people save children's lives. Some people are brain surgeons. Some people are amazing cricketers. Some people are politicians. They're, like, at the top of their game. Sharp. Imagine going to bed tonight. Imagine going to bed thinking, it's your job to save a child's life tomorrow. You're going to do a brain surgery or a heart surgery on a child. Now, that to me is, oh my word, do you prepare well for it? You know, do you drink? Do you have a couple of drinks? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how does it feel when you save somebody's life? I mean, you're probably doing 5 a day. Do you know what I mean? It's their norm. They don't
Correct, exactly.
don't know the family. They're focused on their job, and they've got no emotional attachment to the child.
You do it and then you move forward.
And then you move on. Yeah. And you do the best job you can, knowing the consequence. But this is all over. There's loads of people that do incredible jobs all over the world, in the military or wherever they are. Yeah. And so I find it hard to, when someone says to you, like, what does it feel? That's just what I was trained to do. That's what I was always going to do. That's what I did every day. Like, I score a goal against Argentina, everyone's like, oh my word, like, have you ever scored? Well, yeah, I didn't just fly in from space and, like, did this amazing... I was doing it every day. I was training for that every day. I was beating players. I was practicing. That was just accumulation. But it wasn't like I only did it once in my life. You know what I mean? It's hard to say, because that was just normal for me.
I totally understand it. We had a phenomenal financial year. And, you know, instead of thinking, oh, I'm feeling great, we've done an amazing year, you know, it's just like there was no attachment to it. You get done and you start thinking about the next thing.
Next one.
You know, you're like, okay, now what do we do? How do we move forward? So,
and I think it is a natural thing, because the only thing is the emotion changes, I feel sometimes. Once you've done it, the excitement of winning a Ballon d'Or or being a Golden Boot, and the excitement of it actually changes. Yeah. The more you do something, the less exciting it is to do. And an emotion changes where I think it becomes sometimes more of a fear. And I've spoken to so many elite athletes about it, and they say, yeah, the journey is so exciting, but when you actually do it, it's great, you celebrate, but then after that, it's the fear. I would be petrified. Let's say I won Golden Boot. That's my trophy now. In my mind, I'm not excited to win it, I'm scared of somebody else taking it. And it's a fear of somebody now getting better than you. And that's the pain sometimes, and the motivating factor to train harder and harder and harder, because everybody's now snapping at your heels wanting that trophy and you believe it's yours. So I do think that as much as you do the same thing, I do think emotionally you sort of have a different reason and a different motivation to keep going and to keep doing it.
Great. Can you tell us about the whole Real Madrid move, right? Just before you answer that, right? For me, the way I look at it is, for any profession, you have ambitions. You know, you're doing really, really well at one particular job. You have an ambition to do something better, something bigger, something different, travel internationally, get more exposure. Is it the same for footballers? Was it exactly the same for you when you took up the Real Madrid job?
Absolutely. It's exactly that. I mean, I had obviously a huge pull from being at Liverpool all my life. I never, ever thought I was going to leave. And then when I heard of the interest from Real Madrid, I mean, I guess Barcelona, Real Madrid, it couldn't have been anyone else. Bayern Munich, Liverpool, you know, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they are great clubs, and not many people ever say no. But I was so happy. And one day I'd be thinking, yeah, you've got to try it. It's an amazing experience, new language, new weather, new food, new team, you know, country, everything about it. You'll regret it forever if you don't. And then the next morning I wake up and think, what are you doing? You're like, everything is fine. You're at your boyhood club. You live local. Your family's here. Like, why do you need to change anything? And it was just that sort of to and fro for about 5-6 days until the day came where I had to decide. And I just thought I can always hopefully come back to Liverpool was in my mind. But I don't think I'll ever get the chance to do that. If I don't do it now, I will never get the chance to do it again. So with a heavy heart, I decided, you know what, I've got to try it.
And in your mind at that point, I'm assuming that if Real Madrid didn't work out, or if you ever wanted to come back, it was always Liverpool. There was no other club in your mind as well, right? At that point.
You know, one of the comforting things is that before I made the decision, I phoned up our chief executive at the time. So we had David Moores. The Moores family was the owners, and then Rick Parry was our chief executive. And I remember speaking to him, and I said, obviously we can't put this into the contract because once you go to Real Madrid, they own you. But all I want is to hear from you that if I do 1 year, if I do 2 years at Real Madrid, you'll have me back, won't you? And he said, absolutely, we will get it done. And that gave me the comfort to think, right, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna try it, and then I'll come back in 1 or 2 years. And the whole plan was working perfectly.
Yeah.
I went to Real Madrid, had a great time, scored a load of goals, enjoyed it. But once the season finished, and I then spoke to Rafa Benitez, and Liverpool showed their interest. Are you ready to come back? And I was like, yes, would love to. We met Liverpool, sorted the wages out, everything out. I met Rafa Benitez, spoke about the team and all his plans, and Real Madrid said that, yeah, you can go. And then Newcastle came in and doubled the Liverpool bid. And what can you do?
Yeah.
Real Madrid said, well, you can still go to Liverpool, but they've got to match Newcastle. Otherwise, you can only go to Newcastle or you're staying here. And that was my big chance to go to Liverpool, back to Liverpool. And obviously, it never happened after that.
You know, I want to go layer deeper, Michael, right? Young age, great success, incredible footballer. Everybody's talking about you being one of the best in the world. You go to Real Madrid, injuries have anyway started coming into your life. You want to come back to Liverpool. You actually go to Newcastle. Now you're at a club which is expecting a lot out of you, but probably not at the same standards of a Liverpool and a Real Madrid. You spend 4 years at Liverpool, then you go to Stoke, then you go to Manchester United. Is that the
4
correct?
years. 4 years at Newcastle, 3 years at Manchester United, and then 1 year
and
at
then
Stoke.
Right?
Yeah.
So from Newcastle, you go straight to Manchester United because you want to come back into a big club, right? And you did everything to go back to Liverpool. And of course, everybody knows about the Liverpool United rivalry. But as a footballer, you're an individual that's looking to do best for themselves, work at the highest standards to achieving personal records, do the best for their team that they're representing. But football, fandom, stardom can all be really, really harsh, right? And it can take a toll on an individual. You would have had some really bad lows, I'm assuming, right? When you would have got targeted and, a club that you absolutely loved did so much for. And when you went to United, the fans could have got really nasty at some point. How did you take that, right? I'm assuming it would have been really, really tough. But I'd like to understand, for somebody that's seen incredible highs, sometimes when you get trolled and you can face incredible lows, how does one deal with that?
Well, first of all, I think you've probably got to put into context how you feel at the time and what your actions were. And of course, we've already covered me going from Real Madrid to Newcastle because Newcastle upped the bid. Liverpool couldn't match it. So I had a decision, stay at Real Madrid or go to Newcastle. And the compromise we came to is that if I go to Newcastle, after 1 season, it's in the contract that I can go to Liverpool. So I signed for 16 million. Yeah. After 1 season, I could go to Liverpool at a fixed price of 12 million. And then if I stayed at Newcastle another season, Then in that summer, I could go to Liverpool for 8 million. Another summer, 4 million. And then the last summer, my contract had expired, so you were a free agent anyway. Liverpool was the only team that was in the contract. That shows what I felt for the club, what I was, I just wanted to go back. When I'd done my first season at Newcastle, I then went to the World Cup, and there was an opportunity to potentially go to Liverpool. And I did my knee in the World Cup in Sweden. It was in Sweden, yeah, against Sweden. Sorry, in Germany against Sweden. So obviously I was out for a year, so that was that summer out the way, and the next summer out. So at that point, Liverpool, obviously, of course they've got to move on. They're not waiting for one person. Torres signed, and then Suarez signed. So they didn't ever need me from that point on. Now, I hold no resentment. Of course, Liverpool have got to do what they've got to do. That, they're not going to wait for Michael Owen. But that's cool, and I'm fine with that. But for Liverpool's then to not need me, and every summer me to speak to them and say, well, we don't need you at the moment, or maybe next year, and then get to a stage where my time at Newcastle is now finished, and they still, when I spoke to Brendan Rodgers, and he still didn't need me. That's not me now choosing another club ahead of Liverpool. So my conscience is absolutely fine. Yeah. It's people's lack of understanding that is the problem. So my conscience is cool. Now, when you then get presented, right, what are the opportunities? As you said before, this is my job. If I hadn't been a professional footballer, I'd still be sat here being an Everton supporter probably, and I would see no wrong in Everton. I would love them, and why would I ever change?
Yeah.
Now, I might change jobs. If I worked for a bank and somebody offered me a new job and better money and live closer to home and whatever, that would be fantastic, and everyone would pat me on the back and say congratulate, and then get more promotion and more. It's fantastic. If you do it in football, because you're changing from one colour to the other, and because everybody else has the feeling themselves as, oh, I don't change my colours, how dare you play for that team and now that team or that team, then they can't see it that it's my job. And once you start playing, and you play for Liverpool and then Real Madrid and then Newcastle and then Manchester, and then you start losing the fan element of it. You want to play well for your family, for yourself, to write yourself into the history books, to win trophies, to become a name that everybody has a massive amount of respect, saying, do you know what, you were a brilliant player and you did it well and you did it with a smile on your face and you did it with respect to other people, and they're the things that are driving your career. Not, oh, you're playing in a green shirt and you're playing in a yellow shirt, so I don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, so I have to distance myself from that immaturity in many ways. And now I know that's not because football is a passion, and we love, and and I love, and we all love it, because you do have that hardcore element of, I'm not changing my shirt, this is all. But when you play football, and I could give you a million examples, and the worst example is when someone comes back to me and says, well, Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes and Gary Neville, they didn't. Yeah, but they were winning absolutely everything. I was at Liverpool and we were trying, and we won some along the way, but we were coming 4th and 5th and 6th. Now, surely, to get the opportunity to play for a team like Real Madrid, to try to win a Champions League or a league or something, people can understand that you're just trying to better yourself. Yeah. You're just trying to have a tiny, short career, and you're just trying to be the best you can be. Now, loyalty plays a massive part in that, which is why I cried all the way to the airport leaving Liverpool, and why every single time I was trying to get back to Liverpool. So, of course, loyalty is in there, but when Liverpool prevent you from going back, they say they don't need you. Now I've got to look after myself and think, right, where's the best place that I can perform at the highest level? Because that surely if I said to you, yeah, and I could have gone for this great team and that great team, but I signed for a team in the relegation zone because I didn't want to upset anybody and whatever, and I just thought, I'll just get rid of my career, I'll just let it fizzle out for 5 or 6 years now, because you'd be like, what a lack of ambition, like, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
You were a great player, you could have won a league somewhere, you could have been, what's the matter with you? So, like, listen, I know every step of the way I did the right thing with the detail, with what was presented to me at the time. I knew that when I signed for Manchester United, I was going to get a backlash. Liverpool could have bought me, they could have had me, but I still knew that people don't want to listen to the story. They'll just say, oh, you're playing in our rivals. And I had to accept that 5%, 10% Liverpool fans will always say, yeah, I don't like him anymore. And that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But the way I deal with it now from a humane point of view, which is sort of the next part, I think, of your question, is if I listen to somebody and they say to me, you know, oh, I support Liverpool and I loved you when you were, but then now you play for Man United, or then you play for Man United, so I don't like you anymore. That is a dagger in my heart. People don't realise that I'm, you know, a human just like
Correct.
you and everybody else, you know. We didn't come from the moon. So we have feelings and we have loyalties and we have all these different things. And when somebody says it, it's a dagger in my heart, dagger in my heart. And you can't continue to take daggers because you will die eventually. And, you know, Liverpool to me is like, they were my wife, you know, and we broke up and I wanted to get back with my wife, but she had gone off and she was with somebody else but she would just, do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, you have to
I
move
still
on,
love
right?
you, but you
Yeah.
have to move. The best thing is to move on. Otherwise you just keep, you know, spend all your life thinking, oh my word, why did I let go? And that's the problem. So
And your loyalty can't be questioned because as an individual, you're extremely loyal, right? So I got married to my wife, and you know, we've known each other since the first standard, and I've loved her since that age. But I think you've known your wife from even
Yeah.
before, right? So you've never
Yeah.
had a girlfriend, or I'd love to know more about your
Yeah.
best friend,
No, that's
your wife.
right. Yeah. You've done your research
Yeah.
today. Well done. Fantastic. No, listen, it's not a choice that I'm loyal. I'm just naturally loyal.
Yeah.
I mean, I put my first pair of boots on. Umbro wanted to sponsor me when I was 13. I never, ever, ever. I could have gone to Nike for double the money. I could have gone to Adidas. I could have gone to Puma. I just knew the people there and I loved them and I just didn't ever want to move. I met my wife. We were born 10, 11 doors away from each other. We went to the same nursery, the same infants, the same juniors. We've been boyfriend and girlfriend all our life. My best friend, exactly the same, born about 20 doors away from me. Same infant, same. I've got a best friend. Met my agent when I was 15. Didn't even look at anybody else. You know, all of the things in my business now. You know, we're training racehorses. I don't chop and change trainers. Loyalty, it's friendships, it's values. So I'm I believe, the most loyal. My family, you know. My brothers and sisters have got everything from my career.
Yeah.
My mum and dad and whatever. I don't want a pat on the back for this, but loyalty is ingrained in me. And sadly, or not sadly, but I did play for a few teams. And actually, if you look at my CV, it goes Liverpool, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Newcastle. You think, wow, he moved about a bit. That's not
But
a
it's
sign of
also a
loyalty.
long career, 17 years, right?
I guess so. But no, loyalty is absolutely something that is a huge part of my life, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Michael, I want to ask you, what was the lowest low in your professional life? And what advice do you have for people in terms of coping with lows and how to bounce back from them?
Yeah. Listen, every career has a lot of lows. You know, having big injuries. In hindsight, the biggest low was Leeds. But I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that would compromise me. I just thought, I'm young, I'll bounce back, I'll come back stronger.
Yeah.
And that all was happening until it sort of catches up with you later on. So in hindsight, that was. Obviously doing your knee halfway through a World Cup and being out for a year, that was a big low. But I think the biggest low for me when I look at my career as a whole was the gradual decline. To be a champion, to be at the top of your game, to be a winner, to be successful, you need to think in a certain way and have that type of mindset. And the problem is that mindset then becomes extremely dangerous if you physically can't do something, because your brain tells you can, and your brain and you did do it. So it's not like you're kidding yourself. You've done it for years and years and years. But suddenly now you really can't do it. And your brain is still telling you you can. And then you'll have flickers and moments where you get a ball and you finish it and you score against Manchester City in the 97th minute in Fergie time, and and it comes back in your mind and you think, I'm still, I can still do it. Give me a chance, I'll finish it with the best of them. And it brings it all back and you think you can do it again.
Yeah.
And then the next month, you are slower, your powers are waning. People that you used to run past without even thinking about are now taking the ball off you. And that sort of 3, 4, 5 years of gradual declining, when your brain knows that you can do it or could do it, and now you have to accept mediocrity. You have to accept that you're now not working and not dining at the top table. Looking back, that was the hardest challenge mentally. And it sounds really sad and mean and nasty, but I couldn't wait to retire.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait. And I admire people totally that can be there and that they can still be enjoying it. And, in my case, people that don't play in the Premier League anymore, go to the bottom of go into the Champion, just because they love football and love playing it. I can't. If you ask me to go and play football now, it's the last thing I want to do. I used to do it to that level. Now I'm there. Like, why would I want to put myself through that pain? I don't enjoy being rubbish. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy being a fraction of the player.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. I hated sort of the end of my career, just like having no power, no speed anymore. I just couldn't do what I used to do. So looking back, and I wish I could do something about it. Mentally, I was strong enough to do something about it. But physically, I was, my body had let me down. I was muscle problems and injuries and operations and hernia problem. I was like, so I've got that telling me yes, and that going every single time. And that conflicting every single week, every single month for years. I was like, just let me retire, let me retire. It was almost an embarrassment going out with the letters OWEN on my back, because I just thought, people are seeing a shadow of the real Michael Owen, and I'm letting them see this shadow year after year after year. But then in your heart of hearts, you're thinking, this is my game. I'm only young. I'm still only 30. Yeah. I'm still only 31. I should be playing. I feel fine. But so that, I don't know, I'll give you a long-winded answer, but I think it's probably important to put some context into it, that was probably the hardest moment looking back. And that powerful mind that got me there then made me feel like that, because I couldn't accept what other people could accept.
Okay. I want to know life after retirement. What has kept you busy? What do you do now?
Yeah.
I know you love horses. I know you're a football pundit, but we'd love to know more about the Michael Owen outside the football field.
Well, we're all nervous because we do retire early in life, and I see so many scary stories and what people do after their career, because you've got a long life to live after that, and lots of people from the outside can think it's a bit sad that you've scored all these goals and now, what keeps you happy? Surely nothing can keep you happy from those. But I genuinely am the happiest person. I couldn't have wished for my retirement to go any better, really. I'm so busy. Three things. Obviously family. I have 4 children. I started young. So my kids are 22, 20, 18 and 16. So we've done the hard work.
Yeah.
Now we're just enjoying watching them, and so that's amazing. The kids are healthy and happy, and me and my wife have been married for 20-something years now, so I should know, shouldn't I? 21 years. So family life is amazing. I've still got my mum and dad. I've got 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and again, everybody's healthy and happy. So it's that's all amazing. I did probably think from a football point of view that I should go into management or try. But when I was retiring, the television company came straight in and said, will you come and work on this channel, and here's a 3-year deal, and we want you to do all the commentary, etc. And I agreed, and I enjoyed it, and I've never looked back really. So I've just continued to do the television, and I really enjoy it. But that is my job. You know, I don't. If you said to me, "Do you want to go to work or not?" I'd say, "What's the game?" And if you said, "Well, it's, you know, Burnley against Fulham," I'd probably say, "I prefer to stay at home with the family today." But it's my job, and I liked it. And once I'm there, I'm, you know, but I do enjoy the big games, etc. So, but that's obviously my job. And then the third element of my life is my horse racing, as you know. When I was 23, I decided that I wanted to have a business for when I retire. And just like football, I think the best thing anybody out there can do is follow something that you really enjoy. If you hate your job, if you hate your work, it's a long, old, boring, miserable life. And I wanted to be a professional footballer, and I did absolutely everything to achieve that. And at 23, I decided I'm loving this, you know, I'm loving my job, I love football, but it's only a short career. What do you want to do when you retire? Do you want to go into management? Do you want to go into talent? Do you want to? And I thought, I want a business. I want to run a business. So I set up a horse racing business, started with 5 or 6 horses, and 23 years on, I'm 46 now, 23 years on, we're now training 140 racehorses. I'm training horses for, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson and Jordan Henderson and, you know, Paul Scholes and Steve McManaman and people from all over the world, famous snooker players, famous darts players, famous, you know, people, royal family from the Middle East, and, you know, the business is fantastic. And so it's a sport that I love. It's an animal that I love. The business, I employ 53 people. You know, that responsibility is great. So that's just what gets me out of bed every morning, being the side of the gallops, watching the horses exercising, being around that type of atmosphere. So they're the 3 things that keep me going really. And then of course try to find time to come out to do things like this with you guys.
Great. Is this your 3rd trip to India?
It is. I came to India when I was really young to play football, and I must have been 11 or 12. And then I was here with the Premier League in this very place, this very city, 4 months ago. So it's been a long time coming, and now we're going to make it
it's amazing.
A regular thing.
I'm so glad that we've had this opportunity of bringing you down to India as our dream icon, and you know, and the personal opportunity to sit besides you and get this chance to actually have this conversation with you. You know, this entire last 1 hour has been extremely educational, informational. I think there's a few things that I'm going to take back in my life that I'm going to be able to apply, and I hope everybody that's been listening has learned a few things as well that they could apply to their own lives to improve their life, right? I have a fun segment for you now. It's I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions to get the best out of you with as little thinking as possible, right? So
okay.
we'll jump straight to that. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to this bit.
Great. Anfield or Bernabeu?
Word. Anfield.
One touch finish or solo goals?
Solo goals.
Big game or big rivalry?
Big game.
Premier League or international football?
Premier League.
Okay. Fastest teammate or smartest teammate?
I prefer the smartest teammate.
Okay. Toughest defender you faced?
Marcel Desailly.
Most underrated striker ever?
R9. I know everybody loves him, but he was unbelievable, wasn't he?
Yeah. What do you think of your favorite goal in terms of like how you scored it? The one against Argentina in the World Cup or the FA Cup final one against Arsenal?
Well, in terms of quality of goal, Argentina.
Great. One stadium every fan must visit?
Anfield.
Okay. One player you wish had played longer with you?
Rooney.
Better feeling, scoring early or scoring late?
Oh, late. Late.
You face more pressure for playing for Liverpool or playing for England?
England.
Football IQ or pure instinct?
For me, instinct.
Golden Boot or Ballon d'Or?
Ballon d'Or.
One current striker you would pay to watch live?
Kylian Mbappe.
Mbappe is amazing. One football city with the best energy?
Istanbul.
Istanbul? Which game did you play and why did you
Well,
think
I
so?
played in Galatasaray, Fenerbahce. I mean,
Energy was incredible.
in Turkey, the energy for football is incredible, yeah. And Glasgow second.
Yeah.
Celtic and Rangers. Oh my word. Yeah, that's
Wow.
passion.
Horse racing day or Champions League night?
Champions League night.
Okay. If not football, what sport could you have been obsessed over?
Lots. Golf, boxing, golf, horse racing. Lots. I love sport. Every sport.
And the last one. One player today who reminds you of yourself at your best.
Oh no. I find this impossible. Speed, goal scoring. I'll say Mbappe, but I don't think we're that similar, but I would say possibly the closest.
Nice. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on our show. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you in India. Thank you so much, Michael Owen. You are truly a dream icon for us. Thank
That's
you.
very kind of you. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.